All right. Peace, peace, blessings. Greetings, everybody. Dr. Hakeem Hamid, Honorable One Asafo. Man, lots of great things going on. Happy pre-Martin Luther King Day. I am broadcasting live. Is my charger working? Let me make sure I don't want to lose this. Yeah. Yeah, it's charging. Okay. I'm going to plug that back up in there. Man, hope you all are well. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Hakeem Hamid, a success scholar, here in Tubman City, Baltimore, Maryland. I wanted to talk about something. I should have did this a whole lot earlier, but I got threw off. I lost my wallet, everybody. So please, if anybody, please return it. I hope, I pray. I have important papers in there. Oh man, I'm gonna have to walk around my passport. That's what I can do tomorrow because I have to go down to Annapolis for opening day. So, oh man, but as you can see in the title is Dr. Boyce Watkins versus Professor Jared Ball versus Dr. Amos Wilson versus Pan-Africanism. So I feel the need to, just expand a little bit on some very, very relevant teachings and just offer a practical analysis in terms of, what I see being on the ground. Now, many people know Dr. Boyce Watkins. I have his book. I met Dr. Watkins. We both spoke at the convention of the oppressed in Cleveland, Ohio. Actually, I probably wore this shirt. What a coincidence. In one of the pictures, actually, with Dr. Boyce at the convention of the oppressed, as well as he began to come to the Power Networking Conference. So I know I saw him there, and he got my book at Harvard University some years ago. He didn't remember where he got it from as he was interviewing Dr. George Frazier, but that's okay. I'm not like that picky or anything like that, or, thinking that people are supposed to remember me. But wherever you are in the world, of course, I'm on the East Coast in the Maryland area, DMV, and certainly for those that are in the Baltimore area, many people, certainly in the DC area, many people know of Dr. Professor Brother Jared Ball, who I've known directly over the few years. He actually, I don't know if I ever came on his show, but I know I've interviewed him once or twice, and one time he and another brother who, kind of tight with, or was tight with, certainly they did a show, and I did a Malcolm X weekend event in Baltimore and Prince George's County, a 2-day event, and I think that was a 2-day event, and Brother Ball came and spoke. And matter of fact, he did a book on Malcolm X, and so he and I can't recall Brother Burroughs did that. I don't know if they had the book there, but so I know both of them well, and I also have read his book on the black buying power, and so I feel that I have some unique analysis, and of course having some analysis of Dr. Amos Wilson's work, The Blueprint, as well as many of his psychological books. What is it? The psychological development of the black child, the awakening the natural genius of the black child, and obviously Pan-African spaces that I've certainly been in. So let's first, in terms of Dr. Boyce Watkins, as I mentioned, that generally speaking, and I wanted to, and what inspired this was Professor Ball recently did a something about talking about Dr. Boyce's analysis of capitalism or something to that effect, and it was educational. Um, and I'm gonna do like a pro and con of what I perceive. And Dr. Boyce, he expresses that he had a PhD in finance, and you would think somehow, and not that financial education or someone with a PhD in finance is going to absolutely make individuals wealthy, because I'm starting to feel that if you had all of the right knowledge, like you would definitely be impacting a larger, I mean, it certainly reaches a large amount of people, but I'm just wondering, like, how does reaching the top in finance transform the culture? How does it revolutionize the globe? So this is where I'm coming in, and I'm going to perhaps quote some financial books, and um, just look at some history, right? Because I feel that Dr. Ball's criticism, I mean, this was more, his criticisms were more on a macro level, not necessarily a micro, but I'm going to express both, because, and people can make mistakes, on some levels, but I'm of the opinion, for instance, that what Dr. Boyce does or attempts to, promote, sometimes, he can have, get too emotional, right, about, finance and purchasing and, investing now, as well as the whole black talk about it. Um, and here's what I'm looking at. Um, Many, for instance, and many black people may or may not be in a position to invest in the stock market, right? But what people can do, I feel that there's a process to that, but I also believe that why, for instance, are we, financing global white supremacy capitalism? Like, I mean, and I'm not saying that that's like what he pushes or promotes by itself, but I just believe if you have a PhD in finance, several things should be happening. And I said this before, like the Black Enterprise, for quite some years, they will put out like the top 100 black businesses. I would believe, for instance, that you with a PhD would dissect those 100 black businesses, global in the United States, and and just focus on how can the black bourgeoisie build a trust, or to invest in real estate, investment trust, et cetera, whatever legal thing you need to do, a syndicate, if you will, to invest cooperatively in those, right? So that's one thing. I believe I mentioned that before. Now, I would also propose, for instance, and I read this somewhere, I was looking at the stock exchanges in Africa, and that may be a little bit more tougher work, but I know that the South African stock exchange, is something that deserve to be looked at. I certainly believe that Nigeria, and I'm not sure, I can't recall because I did this presentation before, but in terms of countries, where global billionaires are being created. And you can look up to some of the top countries, I believe. I mean, I'm not believing that black people are going to go to Egypt, for instance, and I know that that's one of them. Ethiopia. There's some countries that are Kenya, of course, and Ghana. Some countries are just prime for global investment, and I would believe sincerely that we, with our global brilliance, could create some opportunities. And this is where, I'm believing that our educational focuses need to happen. Now, what I also believe as well, and not to, say that you can't do both, but because here's the thing, I've been, and I know Professor Ball did an analysis on Robert Kiyosaki, and I've been like a big reader of all of his books, many of his books over the years, and so I've been able to understand and really reflect on that analysis and what it means to me as an individual, but also what or how collectively some of this can be utilized. Now, here's what I also believe. I have to think about, so if you PhD in finance, that doesn't always mean, for instance, that you're going to create like a multi-billion-dollar operation or multi-million and employ a significant amount of individuals. So what has to happen, you have to be sharp enough to be aware of the different industries that can be created. And sometimes that, in the miseducation of the Negro, he talked about how the Negro would go past various types of businesses because his education makes him feel more valuable. I'm not saying that that's totally how, Dr. Boyce Watkins may feel, but I can speculate, for instance, that somewhere along the line he and Professor Ball, will be like sort of on the same type of thing where with their education. Now, and what I mean by that, for instance, some of the things that I believe that certainly deserve to be pushed, and I'm not one to diss college. I know Dr. Boyce has been critical of, the miseducation of the Negro, but also the financial benefits of individuals going through a 4-year university, right? And I think it's rightfully so. I think, even with myself, early when I was reading some valuable books, let's see, Brother George Sabur, he wrote Black Folks Guide to Making Big Money in America, Black Folks Guide to Business Success, Black Folks Guide to Sales. Very, very key books. And he saw it. He saw, for instance, George Sabur was a part of the US organization during the 70s, but he saw, for instance, and he offered a critique during that time in his book, his money issues in black male, black female relationships. Now, this is for the real readers out here who would know George Sabur. I know the Mata folk, in the northeast coast, conscious brothers and sisters, definitely know who Joyce Burr, the 70, 60, and 70, I'd say the 70 and older brothers and sisters, because he got a lot of his books out. He revolutionized the black conscious black business movement, certainly from New York to Maryland and D.C. as well as Virginia. And that's where I got his books from. When I was in Norfolk, Virginia, I was in the Navy. So I started reading many of his books. Shout out to, what's the Baba name? Baba Khalifa down in Newport News in Hampton, Virginia, for being available for that. So next, I want to, just do a comparative analysis, for instance, because, and I can bounce off between Amos Wilson versus, Dr. Boyce Watkins, because, again, I heard, wait a minute, what did I hear? So, being truly centered in the black movement as I am, you kind of, you really truly purge yourself of European education dynamics, right? Where you're able to hear things and that people miss certain things in their evolution being at these universities. And going to Professor Ball, for instance, and he's a professor at Morgan State University, and I believe he's well-meaning, but I'm just curious, for instance, now what he and I'm going to show what likenesses that they have, in their upper level education dynamics, and unfortunately, both of them may not have the absolute pulse of the common brother and sister, right? That may need to, may not even, I'm not going to say they need to hear your message. I just don't believe, for instance, that it's going to be practical. You're not making it plain for the individuals who may need that message. Now, Professor Ball's criticism, for instance, that financial education don't matter, etc., etc. Now, if I am a young person and I'm not like well versed and well read, and I don't see things happening. For instance, you need a team. You need a team of family or community. But what if you don't have a family to support you? You are just going to be out there, and you may not be able to position yourself financially. So the question becomes, where or how do you get revenue, cash flow? And so this is where building the whole movement and stepping outside of your comfort zone, both Dr. Boyce and Professor Ball, teaching the people how to do certain basic necessities, right? And I was listening to a sister today, and they were talking about credit and the role of credit, for instance, for black people. And I'm like, look, if it, that knowledge helps, because again, sometimes, even when I was in different sales organizations, and they would say something like, well, some statistics about if people had an extra $500, they wouldn't, they would have, paid their bills or something, or been able to evade eviction. Just $500. That's some speculation on that, but I'm of the belief that I mean, it's not just, the finances, it's the culture, unfortunately, that many black people here in America, don't really understand and appreciate. Because again, and the question becomes about the whole immigrant things, and I do see that many immigrants, they will sleep on a cot like soldiers. Like, look, they get up, go to work, come home, eat, sleep, and get up and do it all over again. It's not a very pleasant life, for instance, but people know what they got to do in order to survive. And then they pick one up, they build another business, they take over an industry. And while we sitting here debating whether we need money or not, and more of us are going to jail, right, or getting in debt, becoming consumer slaves to credit, and teaching people you don't need to learn about no financial education, Professor Ball. And then on both of their ends, Dr. Boyce, he don't have any unique political, economic experience. He don't see, and this is where, and I do believe that Dr. Claude, his book, Black Labor, White Wealth, but also the other book with Shapiro. Now, Thomas Shapiro, and I know that even, for instance, the ADOS people, and I read both of these, Black Wealth, White Wealth. No, not Black Wealth. Is it Black Wealth, White Wealth? Yes, Shapiro. Let me look that up. Let me get the proper name. I believe that that's... Okay. I'm going to look that up. Yes, I'll be in Annapolis tomorrow for opening day. If anybody need to know, maybe the next day, I'll see. But Black Wealth and then White Wealth. I read that one before too. Peace, King. Well, do share, like, and subscribe. Do share, like, and subscribe. And I'm just doing this because my person, he's was like, you didn't upload your video. I'm like, all right. So I got you. Let me see. Here it is. Black Wealth, White Wealth. Melvin Oliver and Thomas Shapiro. Now, I know that Shapiro is one of the ones, I'm not sure. Let me make sure. I thought that I've heard Yvette Carnell, if this is the same one, quote this one. But let me just plug her in there. What they miss Thomas Shapiro. That may be his name. Thomas M. Shapiro. So in that one, in the Black Wealth, White Wealth, I recall reading something about federal policies, for instance, that created a disproportionate amount of wealth. In another book, wait a minute, another one, How White Folks Got So Rich. That's another one, right? And I believe the NOI study group put that one out. It's a little small pamphlet, but it's very a good read. So the question becomes, and this is where, just unfortunately, I feel like I'm obligated to just like sort of add on, because Professor Ball, for instance, again, if people do something like be intentional about learning about their credit and improving, thank you, Black Wealth, White Labor. Oh, wait a minute, that might be, no, No, this one is called Black. I ain't talking about Claude Anderson. It's called Black Wealth, White Wealth. There's Black Label, White Wealth. Black Label, White Wealth. You got it all wrong, bro. You got it all wrong. Black Label, White Wealth, not Black Wealth, White Labor. Yeah, I ain't talking about Claude Anderson's, but yeah, I've read his too. Black Wealth and White Wealth. So I read that one as well. So I do believe that individuals have to have some individual strategic accountability. You have to have some consciousness about making decisions. I don't believe, as Professor Ball, we need a movement and, revolutionary action, however that manifests. And the question becomes, well, when and where? Because ultimately, if we thinking that it's going to come through a national power like and yes, I have been reading and seeing, but certainly reading the work of the Peacock Elite, the role and history of the Congressional Black Caucus. I would encourage everybody to read that. And I would encourage both about Dr. Boyce. I mean, but he wouldn't spend any time financing like a black campaign or anything, a black movement of sorts. And so that's the question. It's like, okay, and I've read that in even hearing about, like, on a federal level, what the CBC was able to do, for instance, for Bob Johnson, in his BET, and not to dwell on that as if, having a blackface in high place is the standard. But I do recognize, for instance, not just that, but even Dr. Kathy Hughes, who made moves for her in the state of Maryland for Radio 1, which was in Atlanta, Maryland. So I am aware of how it has been some strategic black people in place to make certain things happen. Yes. So I mentioned Dr. Amos Wilson and Pan-Africanism as well, because I'm not sure. I don't think that Dr. Amos Wilson would be running around, like patting his chest, talking about we Pan-Africanists, and he would probably just be doing the work, being close to the people that would appreciate his message. And I think that there's a delicate balance, because again, you have, for instance, and this is what I've learned, people who are economically frustrated, they don't have perhaps the time to think or respond or reflect. People who are desperate out here, they are doing desperate things to, escape reality, escape the economic realities. And this is where, again, going back to Dr. Boyce, and many people may not know, but he was the one, and I saw, like, man, Jay Morrison, and let me say, Jay Morrison, real estate investor in Atlanta, but he was in Baltimore at first. And let me just share, I've been to some different real estate investment trainings, man. I would go all the way to Virginia. I mean, like, literally, I put in money, to go to different trainings. And so I got, like, some unique perspectives. Now, I didn't make, like, a whole lot of power moves, but I knew, and now it's kind of coming full circle for me, but I knew not just those trainings, but those trainings helped me Richest people are the biggest criminals. Okay, maybe. I don't know. But when I been to some of these real estate trainings and some, once I even went to a weekend one dealing with hotels, it was very, very inexpensive where they would come and teach you how to invest in hotels. So I kind of learned, good amount of knowledge. I remember I was telling somebody about this and they must have thought I was like rich. And I was like, nah, it's like some people, coming and sharing and they want investors. So it was, like a good, that I was able to get that basic uh, knowledge there about that. So, but going back to Dr. Boyce Watkins, he, for instance, and I know, he didn't say he made a mistake, for instance, but he kind of justified the investment in Jay Morrison. But when I saw Jay Morrison some years ago, and I saw how flashy he was, I thought about how, his watches and the cars and the types of suits and how just how he talked. It was all about bling bling, swaggy swag. He would say things about swaggy swag and I just knew, for instance, and this is what being a part and studying the works of Dr. Amos Wilson's, coming up studying the Muslim movement, for instance, and I was just calculating, although Jay says he's a Christian, he missed some developmental processes of, I'm not going to say it's Pan-Africanism, but, nation building, like knowing that people have, this degenerate culture is something that needs to be worked on. And this is what the nation worked on in terms of getting people to transform certain types of behavior. So people were able to invest and work to build a movement. But if you, for instance, like Elijah Muhammad spoke about not keeping up with white folks, right? In terms of building, like getting a home first, and talk about that, getting a nice home first before you start, buying other things. So I just thought about it. I was just like, man, if Jay get money, he just gonna be, he don't have no cultural historic context for why he need money. So it will all be about wearing a necklace or wearing a fur coat. Like I saw him in Baltimore, like just last year, yeah. What he had on, came up in there with the mayor, trying to push up with Mayor Brandon Scott with a big old fur coat. And I'm just like, he ain't gonna learn. He gonna be Eurocentric, till he die. Like, there's no way. He's addicted, like Jerome E. Fox, Dr. Jerome E. Fox say, addicted to white stuff, right? And now, granted, you need tools in this world. Like you got to have, shelter and, but when you are trying to get the grassroots people, people who really can't afford to be, they're not like real investors. They're not sophisticated investors. And you having them thinking that they're going to invest $500 and they're going to be like, kings and queens. And Dr. Boyce co-signed this. Dr. Boyce co-signed that into the minds of the ignorant. See, and I couldn't say a whole lot. I mean, and I didn't know all of the, shiny facade things that Jay Morrison was actually doing behind the scenes, or what he wasn't doing. And here's again, and I was just calculating. I wasn't hating, but I was just like, how is a convicted felon that didn't graduate high school, convicted two-time felon that didn't graduate high school, that has two children, what did he learn about real estate? Where is his, where's his investment capital coming from if he didn't have like a family or, no work history? Like, all he did was sold drugs. I mean, and, people, look, people, yeah, thank you, brother. Everyone was forced to fooled by a scammer. People do what they need to do with their drug money. So I'm not going to be someone that says that people in the streets are bad. Absolutely, because I know people and they did what they had to do when they had to do it. But I certainly have problems with the bling bling drug dealer mentality. And it seems that Jay Morrison overcame some of that, but still thought like a little drug dealer wannabe, or he wanted to think and dress, not think like one, but dress like one, like and fake floss like one. So he still had the drug dealer swag, swaggy swag as he calls it. So, and that's what I mean by having some experience-minded people. And Dr. Boyce, he was a little bit older than me, maybe about the same age, but I'm going to say he was definitely old enough not to give a fair, it's just like a political endorsement. Like, sometimes you just have to stay neutral, y'all. You just can't be just like out here with, you got to have your reasons for, financially just up and, I'm going to invest here. I'm going to, I'm going to put up my money and get this to Jay Morrison, because I believed in it. I'll invest in anything. Like Boyce Watkins say, he'll invest in anything. I've lost money before. Everybody can't just, and everybody shouldn't just follow, people. So this brings me up to, Dr. Amos Wilson, because again, I feel that, there are certain things that certain things that we, have to be able to teach our community, and job skills. And this is, to Professor Ball as well, like teaching job skills, career skills. You got to talk about these things, man. Like, you got to talk about staying clean. Like, because just imagine, I'm going to be hypothetical. What if you have, let me just say, like a public first responder job. Like, I'm going to give an example. Like, let's just say that. Jobs that's making $50,000 in 3 years, like, or $60,000 in 3 years, right? And you have 6 or 7 African Americans that can't pass the drug test. They can't, stop smoking weed, right? So that's, multiply that, 50,000 times, 50, 60,000 times 6 or 7, you got $350,000, or 60,000, 420,000. And that, then you don't have, just because, they don't listen to some hip hop artists and, somebody made it legal. I mean, well, before all this cannabis thing and whatever popped off, people were losing jobs, and that's choices, and that contributes to the economic dysfunction. So you cannot say that financial literacy doesn't work, or because that has to be about choices, right? When you make different choices, your life change. It's like, actually, they're simple, but if you don't know what to teach people, you have to be able to direct people into to the right audiences. And that's, everybody got their expertise. They're going to stay in their lane, and they're not going to, try to evolve to the degree that they want to service those that need the message, or those people that are listening. Because let me just say, so there's a segment that definitely listens to Boyce. But I'm just curious, like, in terms of, there's no systematic way, for instance, that I believe, what I have evolved to study a system and a code of conduct and particular behaviors, levels of consciousness and awareness and things that you do to grow yourself, to build yourself. And it may not always be somebody gonna invest in some stock. If you're investing in some stock, but next thing you know, you're a party animal, and you in a club popping bottles. And I'm not saying that the Boyce promotes like any of that. I'm sure he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. But when you hanging with Jay Morrison, he the type that will pop a bottle of Moet, and that's years ago. He Cristal. I don't know. Do people still do Cristal or whatever? I wouldn't even know. I only know it. I know the names of it, but I don't know what they drink or whatever they do now. So whatever Diddy is selling, whatever he's selling, slimy juice or whatever. Boyce, he definitely got a lot of people to buy stocks. I would hope. The question becomes: are you going to create industries that of strategic stock pickers? Is this what we're going to become? Is that the liberation movement? Partially. Because here's the thing. These major corporations, they are stable, but I don't know if black people will get in early enough. First and foremost, because most of the true wealth comes through IPOs. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about that. And startups. You got to get in, on the startup levels, obviously, real estate startups, and, various types of, insurance, all are the ways to go. Obviously, striving to build your business, but it doesn't always work like that. You got to have the right education, the right experiences, the right networks, and have the right people, the right support systems, to build a successful business. But, you can, build career skills that are in demand. And it doesn't have to be through a university, but if you can get something, paying 60, 70, 80, 80,000. Sometimes people that don't know any better, they think that if you not making six figures, middle six figures, you not doing bad. I mean, depends on how you live, right? And where you live and how you organize with the people and raise up others in your spaces, right? So yeah, but Jay Morrison is starting to pick back up, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Brother said the Jay Morrison stuff is ancient. Oh yeah, no, but he's still around. He's still around. He's popping back on the scene now. He's starting to post more. But yeah, I mean, and I just bring it up because I always will, because Dr. Boyce Watkins, who had a finance PhD, co-signed him, and like how, I mean, and I'm not gonna say that a finance PhD is gonna be perfect, obviously, but Dr. Boyce needs to study the culture, and that's what I saw that he wasn't as aware of. And for instance, Dr. The founder of US organization, Dr. Malanga Karenga, he has a book called Intro to African American Studies, Intro to African Studies, where just like I always, even for Professor Ball, like you need to read his chapter on economics. It's a college text. If you all need to know, it's definitely one. I don't know what universities it is, but I'm sure you can look Intro to African Studies. I don't know if it's Intro to Black Studies. I read it some years ago, but in one of the chapters he talks about capitalism, socialism, cooperatives, and that's his analysis. And I felt like, and I wish I may try to find it just so I can see it again. But I remember saying, "Aha, that's right and exact. That's on point." Because again, and the critique, for instance, of and Dr. Boyce Watkins said he's not a capitalist. I mean, sometimes you starving and you don't have the skills, you're going to have to get the skills. You're going to have to get the talent. You're going to have to, somehow get in the way or position of influence and power to have access to resources. Now, different people do different things to earn a living. I'm not trying to tell people what they absolutely have to do, or this is the absolute way. But for me, I know, yes, if you can, increase your earning potential, if you can increase your credit, if you can buy a house, if you can, I'd say like something I do, like get a house for 50% off. If you can, like, you don't need to buy a new car. You can buy a 2.5 year car. And I got that from reading the book Wealth Without Risk. There's, Wealth Without Risk, and then there's More Wealth Without Risk. Very, some key basic things that I felt like if people can do just that, just the thing with the house that I said, the 50% off house, and buy a car between 2 and 2.5 years old. I mean, after you have work skills, peace, King. After you have job readiness skills, making a decent income. But yes, obviously you got to get the right house in the right neighborhood. Probably what they say, get the best block in the worst house, if possible, and put some and work it, and put some sweat equity and some investment capital in it. And I'm still figuring out what the next move may be because I need a power play. And um, some of the things that I've done that didn't that many people don't even discuss, and maybe Boyce talks about it now, but I'm not sure how much he's able to affirmatively speak in terms of black male, black female relationships and those dynamics, because many black men are, becoming economically non-viable in this society, and nobody cares, nobody's addressing them, uh, and many are trying to do too much in this world to, impress women, and next thing you know, they're old, they're unhealthy, they didn't invest in themselves, they're dying early, they have poor diets, poor exercise, and many are just going to fall off, right? And these things are choices, Professor Ball. You're not going to have a movement. I mean, well, first, like, I don't know where this movement is going to come from. If you're thinking that it's going to be like a Green Party thing, like that, I don't know if you supported the last one, the guy Ware. I'm sorry, not Westmore, but Butch Ware that ran, and he's running for governor in California now. I mean, I just don't know, like, when or where that's gonna, like, manifest. The whole, we the third party, even the black independent party, like, when and where. I mean, if it can't get popping in Maryland or Prince George's County or DC or Baltimore, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know where. If you can't get it in DC, Prince George's County, or Baltimore City, like, like, somewhere along the line, I'm going to tell people, and even some of these Baltimore folk, they just don't grow. Even the Pan-Africanists, for instance, in Baltimore, they just like parrots, and they getting old, and they just talking things that no basis in reality. And this is where, I'm studying these people. I'm dissecting them like on an Amos Wilson type level. But the thing is, I'm like actually being a practitioner, right? I'm showing up in spaces, hearing conversations, showing up in community spaces and wealth building spaces and political spaces, and hearing different conversations, and I'm like, ain't nobody talking about no Pan-Africanism, ain't nobody talking about no FBA. Like, where do these, like, movements come from? And no disrespect to the Pan-Africanists, directly, but I'm seeing, for instance, that it becomes redundant and it becomes more celebrity, ritualistic, religious, and, it's just like a, kind of rap and clap session. And not everybody needs to hear the rhetoric. Like, not everybody signed up for this course. Not everybody need to hear, yeah, you from Africa, or you this is how you got to be a real man. Like, if some people not 50 years old and you teaching me how to be a real man, like that ain't. I'm not. I don't need that. I don't need that teaching. I done been around. Like, I mean, I can quote, the resume, the bio of showing up the libraries, the everyone's place, and the wisdom center, and the different conferences, the different lectures, the books, the mentorships that I've been a part of, and some people haven't, right? So you hear and see different things from showing up in these spaces, and so not everything is going to be said, and but I wanted to really just let everyone know that yes, Boyce Watkins has certain analysis, Professor Brother Ball, but I definitely wanted to mention to Professor Ball in the context that I don't know where this radical political thing is supposed to pop off. I'm not sure if it's going to pop off in in Maryland or Baltimore, or Prince George's County, or D.C., but I don't know, or if it's just going to pop off in YouTube land. Yes, I saw Tucker Carlson just mention the FBA. Yeah, that was kind of goofy. I mean, so and that's the other thing. It's like all these different things. It's just adding a big ball of mass confusion. Big ball of mass confusion, to the community. Brother just said Tucker Carlson just mentioned foundational black Americans. So what does that really mean? So anyway, y'all, I'm always doing an hour. I'm always making it to an hour before I'm ready to exit. But again, some of us are putting in the work of Dr. Amos Wilson on another level in 2026, and so there are certain books that you should be aware of, and unfortunately there are other people that we are listening to that's they just like to give commentary, and it's just leading to powerlessness. So I would like to be in a position to move towards true power, and I'm calculating and making the proper moves to make that happen. So thank you all for tuning in. It's almost an hour. It would make sense if Pan-Africanists engage their local African affairs advisory group. Good point. Well, let me just say to that, like in Maryland. There's an African commissioners. There's also an African American commission. And, I don't know if they actually interact at any time. So, I've been perhaps the most prominent one who is aware of both over time. But, unfortunately, I have some people around me that, fall off, and they kind of keep me not performing at a proper level. Oh yes. Shout out to my sister Fatma. I just texted her today. Yes. I asked her about Kenya. So yes. So definitely, yes. Good sister, and and this is where again, and people some people may not know that I actually changed my name. So some people probably think I'm from the motherland. It's all good. I have to really kind of begin to explain that, because some people don't know about this whole re-Afghanization and the Pan-African global Malcolm X type of taking your name back thing, that many of us have been inspired to do here in the United States, or shall I say, if not taking your name back, because I know some want to claim that they from here or whatever, or you were here on the Mayflower, on the Sunflower or whatever, but I just don't think that being called Toby, you're Toby, and then you saying you Kunta, and then you got some Negroes saying, "Hey man, just call yourself Toby, brother." So yeah, we cool with Toby. I don't know where that starts or where that ends, but I just think it's like kind of coonish, like for real. So, but people can pretend that they like being militant about it or whatever, but it's really weird, and I don't think it can't last that long, because where is the power? That's what all I ask is, where's the power? Where's the direction towards power? And again, I'm not going to pretend somehow, because I knew you're pretending to be African. I'm pretending to not be a Toby, or shall I say Frank, or anything that the white man wants you to be, right? I don't need to pretend anything, brother. It's when you have a depth of knowledge. Africa is a very rich continent. When you study the world and the global population, for instance, and you thinking like a global business individual, you cannot like eliminate global Africa. So I'm sorry, I've read a few hundred books, and when you read like that, you start. I've been to the UN, I've been to the United Nations, I've been to the African Union. So like there are different things that go on. I'm sorry, I don't like just hang in like a particular hood, or in Baltimore with like the local people, or like people talking about what the city council person did all the time. I mean, all those, sometimes you may have to do that, but the world is a big place, and you have to know your place in it. If you can fit. If you cannot fit, just do what you have to do in your own community, wherever you are, and just make some things happen. But I've been exposed to different people in various communities. I'm not like some of these other like Pan-Africanists that don't go nowhere. like Jamal Brown said, you ain't never been nowhere. And I'm not saying that I need to travel, or that everybody needs to travel. Like everybody don't need to go to Africa. I know, contrary to some Pan-Africanist extremists, that that's all they do. They will get up whatever money they could, and they will go, and they will spend every red cent, and they will spend everybody's cent that will give them any money. And that's all they care about is a feel-good trip. And you can do that maybe for a little while, but you better start building your own house wherever you can. Better start getting some tools, some seeds, to grow some things. So now I'm thinking like a real nation builder, wherever you are. Like, and I think that people can do certain things in Africa. I'm optimistic. But there's still things that can be done here, and you got to make it make sense. You got to make your business make sense. Your traveling make sense to Africa to get whatever it is that you need to get to grow a business wherever you can, be profitable and grow. So again, and I know that that's I don't know if that's capitalism, but somewhere along the line, somebody gotta get some cash flow, right? And since Boyce Watkins only give to whoever knows what, and Professor Ball, he only gives to whoever knows what. I don't know what it is, but you know, fortunately, I got to be astute enough to figure this out, like for real. So, and you can't hate. I mean, and let me just say, I'm not, I'm not like a Pan-Africanist sympathizer like that, because I know some so-called Pan-Africanists that like you don't want to be like affiliated. That's why I said Pan-Africanism as well. Like in terms of verses, Dr. Boyce Watkins, I just put the whole verses with all of them just so I can sort of, offer those critiques. Because definitely in the Baltimore area, and if you're in the Baltimore area, I say before you ask me about anybody or if you decide to join anyone or any organization, definitely ask me first. Get my feedback, read my bio, check out some of my posts. You'll see, even recently, this past couple weeks, I just been posting. Like, I want, so I can plug and say, look, go back and see the diversity. Go back and see the depth of the work, because ain't nobody can't touch this, so for those goony goons, those Pan-Africanist goony goons out here that want to protect, I think you should be striving to provide as well. So that's what I want to hear. I want to hear some real alpha males, right? Figuring it out, like not being behind forever and being slow and not being productive. Like somebody got to write a check. So I'll keep building, ensure that I can write my own, of course. So definitely ready to keep it going. Some lessons, y'all holler at the Success Scholar. I'm gonna do some AI clips, but I'm going to sleep. I'll be in Annapolis tomorrow for opening day 2026. Yes or no? They many people in Annapolis, they don't care about FBA. They don't care about Pan-Africanism. Like, they just sit there doing the work. I learn a lot as I go, and in other spaces where I learn. So I'm not, thinking or pretending that I'm some boss up there. Thank you, King. I'm not thinking I'm some boss up there in Annapolis or anything. I mean, but I think I have the potential to be, right? So, so that's all I'm gonna say. I'm making some strategic boss moves. If I can get some intelligent people, like intelligent regular black folks, like not FBA, not Pan-Africanists. That's all I need is some intelligent black folks, right? All right, y'all. Peace and blessings. Holla at the Success Scholar. I'm out. Thank you, King. Thank you, King. Peace and blessings, brother.